And now to our first conversation. We'll be talking tax today. The Lagos State Internal Revenue Service recently announced a deadline for filing of annual tax returns by employers of labor in Lagos. That was earlier in the year. But now individuals have a deadline for March 31st. We'll be discussing the implications and other tax matters today with Mr. Samuel Oyenitu, Head Criminal Prosecution Unit, Lagos Inland Revenue Service. Great to have you on the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
You know, normally when you have the tax man around, everyone gets nervous, but it's good to have you. Can you paint a picture, of what tax collection in Lagos, was like in 2021, like in terms of numbers? Yeah.
Well, the year 2021 was a post-COVID era, so to say. And then, notwithstanding that, there is a level of voluntary compliance in the state in which most of the companies who pays their pay, let me say employers now, voluntarily comply to a reasonable extent. And then to this extent, the state was able to at least reasonably meet up its target for the year in question to about 80% of the internally estimated revenue for the year.
Yeah, so how would you describe it? Was it good?
Yes,
Collection.
it's good, but not good enough because the COVID era, the aftermath of NSAS also affected a lot of things. But it's not bad, it's good. 2020 was also good as well.
And what would you say, are the challenges, with tax collection in Lagos State?
Well, the challenges are numerous, but to look at them from this perspective, we have the informal sector seems to be the most challenging areas. Because for the formal sectors, they're always complying. Their employers will always ensure to a reasonable extent that they comply. However, with respect to the informal sector, especially the professionals, they find it a bit difficult. Some of them want to bring out laws or simply because they are not really conversant with the laws on taxation. They tend to defend, So we have legal tussles here and there. We also have ignorance on the part of some, the market women and all that. So that, to a reasonable extent, has affected collection. And then also we have challenges in the areas of people either relocating to other states or the aftermath of the pandemic and the NSAS. Really affected a lot.
All right, so, talking about, widening this, the tax net, and you did mention the, informal sector, what's been done to, bring in the informal sector, into the tax net at this point? What are the plans there?
Well, we have a unit in charge of that. We have a director who is an erudite and well experienced in that area. That notwithstanding, to the best of my own knowledge, we've tried to engage some of these stakeholders. I would say stakeholders now, the market women, the market men. We've engaged them. We go on sensitization from time to time. Aside from that, we also engage the professionals. We try to go through their registered associations and ensure that something is paid in. In the past, we still have it now. We call it the presumptive tax, which is to pay a reasonable amount every year. So that, in an essence, is bringing them into the tax net. And so the issue of filing of returns is also another area where you ask people to file. By the time you file in subsequent years, you're already in the net, will be able to assess you properly and adequately.
Yeah, talking about filing, what's the process for that, for individuals?
Yes, for individuals, it's clearly stated in the law by Section 41 of PITA. When I say PITA, I mean Personal Income Tax Act 2004 as amended, makes provision and makes it mandatory that all individuals resident in a state must file. We have this provision in the Constitution too. Section 24, paragraph F of the Constitution, 1999 Constitution as amended, also provides that all individual citizens of Nigeria must declare their incomes honestly and pay their taxes promptly. So what that implies is that every individual, irrespective of whether your employer had done that on your behalf or not, you are liable to file your returns on or before the 31st of March every year. Subsection 3 of that section 41 provides clearly that within 90 days of the commencement of every relevant year, and every relevant year commences on 1st of January, so on or before 31st of January, all citizens of Nigeria, particularly those residents in each state, are liable to file their returns on or before that period.
So as an employee, my employer is also going to file?
Yes, by provisions of Section 81, subsection 2 of the Personal Income Tax Act. The employer owes that duty. He owes the duty to file on behalf of his employees, all the emoluments and all the amount of income and all that things that were received by that employee for the preceding year, the employer is liable to file. That notwithstanding, Section 41 says that all taxable persons, so including the employee, are liable to file on their own. Yeah, so notwithstanding that filed by the employer.
So aside, what your employer files.
And then the reason for saying that is because in so many cases, these employees, the employer only file for their salary income. Now, for instance, I'm a civil servant, and then I have some other streams of income. For instance, I'm into agriculture, which the law allows. I'm saying, for instance, and I do agricultural business. I earn income from that. Or I have a property of my own. I earn rental income from that. I will not declare that to my employer. And my employer may not even know. And will not declare. We only declare my income. So these are things that the individual who knows himself or herself better will include in the returns he's filing to the state government.
Right. But what happens to the unemployed now? Take, for instance, and, just the average hustler on the street. What's in it?
Yes, the law is very clear on who pays tax, and that is someone who earns income. So it is subject to earning of income. You don't pay tax when you are not earning income. But from the point you are earning income, you are liable to pay. So for the filing, it is expected that even when you don't earn income, and you have earned income at one point or the other before, as a self-employed, you're also required to file. Even if it's going to be a new return, just state it clearly. It's a statutory obligation to file. So whether or not you have earned income, as long as you are a taxable person, you are liable to file. And so when you do, that will enable the relevant tax authority to be able to assess you properly. That's just the essence of the filing, to assess you properly as opposed to issuing you with the best of judgment assessment.
And the deadline here, the 31st
of March for every relevant
for individuals, is there a possibility of extension? And what happens if you don't?
Yes, the law is very clear. It's 31st of March. So if at all, like in 2020, the agency decided to extend, and just because of the COVID-19, extended to March. Last year, we extended till, I think, February, thereabout. So, but this year, the chairman has said there will be no extension. And the reason is this: year in, year out, people have, because we prosecute them in court, we have experienced people who are not taking this seriously. In other crimes and jurisdictions, people cannot escape filing of their tax returns. But here in Nigeria, people take it for granted. And so we want to really go all out, prosecute, and make some scapegoats. So there will be no extension.
Yeah, scapegoat, that doesn't sound fun at all. But what's the process like? How easy is it, for the average, individual to file these returns? Are you leveraging technology? How do you make it easy for the layman on the street?
Yes, as you know, that Lagos State is a pioneer when it comes to innovations, when it comes to technological development. And in this area, since some few years ago, since 2016, but practically in 2018, we commenced the online filing of returns. And you can do that by logging into www.etax.lirs.net. So anybody can file, as long as you can use your phone to browse or to log into any site, Facebook, Yahoo, and all, Gmail, you can easily, once you log in, even if you don't have once you have a payer ID, that's the first thing. A payer ID is the name with which you pay taxes, which you can create online. Then you don't have a password, just click on forget password. A password link will be sent either to your email or to your mobile phone number. And with that, you can easily log in, create, and file. There is a template there. If you look at the form, the website, you will see a template where you can download the form. The format is there. Just confirm with it your name in terms of phone number. Surname first, the middle name, first name, phone number, and all that.
All right. So
for the few who cannot do that, you can also walk into the office. They will do that on your behalf.
Okay, so you have people that can
so
actually...
we have all tax stations who are well equipped with this. You can also come to the head office or contact any of the staff. They have an admin platform where they can log in for you. And if you have questions, you can log in or call on our phone numbers.
Right. Right. So paint a picture of the penalties here for me.
Very well. There are two ways to this. First, we look at it from the civil angle. The provisions of Section 54, subsection 3 of the Personal Income Tax Act 2004 as amended says the agency or the relevant tax authority has the power to raise a best of judgment assessment on a taxpayer who failed to file his returns. And now there will be no basis for filing. So on that, a best of judgment assessment will be raised based on fair terms, looking at the using various parameters to assess this taxpayer. And then there are also penalties of 10% under Section 76 of the PITA that imposes 10% penalty of the amount due, and also interest at the central bank monetary rates will be imposed. That's in the civil aspect. In the criminal aspect, we also have imposition of fine. For individuals, it's 50,000 naira. But it is not about the 50,000 naira. The law provides that the person will be held liable upon conviction. So the payment of the penalty is not just the rate or the fee there, but it's about the criminal conviction. And whosoever has been convicted becomes a convict, an ex-convict. And so will be denied of certain privileges in the country. And so it is advisable for one to file on or before that deadline. So we have various sections. Section 94 also attaches terms of imprisonment apart from just the fine. So we could combine all these together to find an individual who fails to file.
Well, I'm sure some people are shaking, listening to all of that. That's quite heavy. But tell me about this best of judgment assessment.
Yes. Okay, a best of judgment assessment as provided under Section 54(3) is that where a taxpayer fails to file his return on or before the deadline, then the relevant tax authority has the power to raise an assessment. It's called an estimated assessment on the taxpayer. And when we do that, some of the parameters we use is not limited to that, but particularly we look at the status, we look at the way of life, where does he live?
How do you track lifestyle?
Well, we have an intelligence unit that is well equipped to do that. You may not know, you may go for a function, you find us there watching you, looking at your lifestyle, the cars, the schools your children attend, and then the net worth. So we call some high net worth individual. So there are so many parameters which we may not disclose all. But at the end of the day, when you find out that we have all this information about you, you have no other choice than to file. However, the law also allows that you still object to an assessment that has been raised against you. So even if a best of judgment assessment is raised against you, you have a right to still object under Section 58 of the Personal Income Tax Act. However, if you fail to object within the statutory period, it becomes final, and you will be liable to pay the tax.
Quite interesting, because, most people will say, the concern is, what is this our tax being, used for? At the end of the day, and that's why you see so many people quite reluctant,
Very.
you know, to pay some of these taxes. What are you guys doing, you know, to change that narrative?
Well, if you look at Lagos State compared to all other states, you see that tax constitutes a large crunch of the income of Lagos State. And that's why in time past we don't rely on revenue from oil or even from VAT. You see that Lagos State has judiciously used tax income well to the development of the states. There might be some few areas where this development has not touched, but Lagos State is working all hard to ensure that this cuts across. If you look at a definition of tax, it says it's without direct benefit. So it might not be me that will enjoy it directly, it might not be my street, it might not be my environment, but as time goes on, it's going to go all around. You will see it in all our schools, with roads, with infrastructures and all that. Lagos State does not joke with the tax.
Right, and I see you guys are targeting 550 billion naira revenue to assist the government to transform the state. How achievable is that? Quite a huge sum.
Well, it is achievable if we can cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Right.
If we tap deeply into the informal sector. There are some who are still not complying. There are some who are using the influence of some tax experts to take advantage of the loopholes in the law. Okay. So if we can cover all loopholes, I believe we'll get
all right. Well, I want to believe, we're all, tax compliant. And I'm sure you will agree that Ladi Williams is tax compliant.
Well, to the extent of your personal income, your PE.
Yes,
but when it comes to other sources of income, I wouldn't know if you have other sources of income.
You and I, between you and I. All right. Well. Thank you so much, Samuel Oyedetu, Head Criminal Prosecution Unit, Lagos Inland Revenue Service. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All right. So after the break, commodities market update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning.